Hello, infinite souls. How are y'all doing? Welcome to another episode. This time we are recording the podcast, and the video will be up on YouTube. So if you want to go check that out, look for Luna Ashe on YouTube, LunaAse. Okay. Today we're actually going to be talking about shadow work. Now, the reason that I wanted to talk about shadow work was because we just had a full moon that passed. It was also an eclipse. So the energy was pretty high. People have been feeling it. I personally have been feeling kind of drained, like very exhausted, just sleeping a lot more than I have usually slept, and waking up very, very early. So that's just the energy that's happening right now for light workers and just people who are intuitive and who are, very open to their psychic gifts. Now, if you are familiar with my YouTube channel, I have a video on there already about shadow work. And in that video, I break it down into steps. So if you want to go more into detail, go ahead and check that out. But today I'm just going to freestyle it. I'm just going to tell you guys off the top of the head whatever spirit wants to say concerning shadow work. Now, what is shadow work? Have you ever heard of it? Well, shadow work is actually basically just facing your shadow side, your dark side, the side of yourself that you keep hidden in the closet, and that's why it's in the shadow. Or the parts of you that you suppress, that you ignore, that you pretend that are not part of you. And so that is a shadow, your fears. And shadow work is facing those fears head on, facing those fears and programming, because that's all it is. It's programming, because the journey is to remember who you are, right? Now, facing those fears can be very difficult. Some people don't want to remember those things because they're very hurtful, things that have been traumatic for them. And so in that case, I would say, if it's very traumatic for you and you don't want to relive those things, see a professional. You can see a hypnotherapist, you can see a regular therapist, you can see a spiritual healer of some sort, but with a professional, somebody that you feel comfortable with, that will support you on this journey, because it's very important to feel supported, especially if it is something that is very traumatic, that is hard for you. Now, some people like to do things alone and can do the healing alone if it's not that traumatic, or if it's just something that they feel that they can do. Like myself, I've done most of my healing by myself. I have done some energy clearings and some readings and things like that, but I usually do all of my healing on my own. And so I'll tell you a couple of things that I do and what my shadow was. So your shadow is also your trauma. Obviously, that is something that every human being, I believe, has. I believe that as we all volunteered to come here to this plane of existence to experience being a human being and experience all of the emotions that there possibly can be. And I believe that the way that the system has been built in society, at least speaking for where I'm coming from, but I believe in all the world, the systems that are in control have been built to keep us in suffering. And so because it's a pyramid scheme, right? So the people underneath have to stay underneath in order for it to work. And I believe that that's part of the reason why we all of us have trauma. Every single person that lives on planet Earth has some form of trauma. And it could be small and it can be big. So the trauma isn't just trauma. Trauma has like a gradient, right? It is like from 0 to 100, real quick. And so there's different levels to it, but every single one is valid. And they feel this, sometimes they feel the same to the person. The experience is different and it's valid because everyone has a different experience here. And so another thing that is your shadow is the trauma or the childhood programming that you have from when you're a kid. So you do inner child healing, and that's a whole nother section on its own, but it's part of shadow work as well. So that's why I wanted to mention it. But it's very, very important, by the way. Now, the shadow work that I began to do, the first thing I began to do was healing the most obvious thing, which was me being molested as a child. I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. And I knew that that was something that was traumatic for me, even though I wasn't connected to the emotion. I had compartmentalized it and put it away in a way that I was not connected to it, and I didn't feel emotionally attached to it. I didn't even feel emotions at all. I felt like I was very disconnected from everyone. And so that's where I started. I started it by doing meditations. Meditation for me is the best possible way, because when you are an avid meditator like myself, even when you are not, meditation can heal anything. It takes dedication to be able to heal physically the body, and it also takes practice to also be healing your mental state and trauma and releasing that through meditation. But it is possible, and it's very, very possible for you, even if you've never tried meditation before. Of course, you're not going to get it the first day that you try meditation. It doesn't happen overnight, okay? But it will make a huge difference, and it will seem like it was overnight if you stay with it. And I've released that through meditation, because when you get into a meditative state, right? If you've been meditating for a while and you get into this meditative state, you get into your theta brain waves, and you're able to access memories and parts of the brain that you have not had access to before. And so when you access these, you release them. By releasing them, they transmute the energy, and you then, through meditation, fill that energy that is being transmuted with love, with pure love and light from Source Creator God, whoever you believe in, and Mother Earth. And you heal that energy, and that energy begins to transmute. So when you are doing shadow work, you're doing alchemy. You're transmuting energy. You're transmuting from something that once was seen as darkness to something that is light. It's basically a change of perspective as well. Like, transmutation is basically a change of perspective. I mean, that's just something that I thought about right now, but because honestly, if you follow science or you like Einstein, he did say that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transmuted, and we are pure energy. We metaphysics, quantum physics, epigenetics is all sciences that are proving spirituality. They're basically, hand in hand. Spirituality and these sciences are going hand in hand together. They're explaining each other. And so I heard today a woman say that this spirituality is putting science into practice, actually practicing it, actually doing the alchemy, right? Not just knowing about it, not just figuring out what it is, but actually doing it, and embodying it, right? And so that's how I did most of my shadow work. I also did an energy clearing with my friend Alex May on Instagram. And he is very, very talented, very amazing. I was able to release also that same trauma through that. And I feel very good. I felt amazing after that. You feel actually very lighter. I took in a lot more light. A lot of my gifts started to come in. My intuition got stronger. And, you know, I just wanted to continue to do more spiritual work after that, you know. My days got brighter and I got happier, you know. And the work doesn't stop, you know. The work is consistent, you know. When you work on one thing, you feel good, you're like, yeah, hell yeah. And then you're like, oh, there's another thing I gotta work on. Okay. So so it just keeps going. We're in earth school. The joy of being here on earth, like the part of the excitement is that we get to experience all this shit, you know, even the good and the bad, you know, or bad. Good and bad are only perspectives, state of perspectives, you know, because two people can look at the same thing and one person says it's good and the other person says it's bad. So it's all a perspective. Anyway, another way that you can do healing for your shadow or your shadow work is through journaling. Journaling is very, very, very helpful. It's like talk therapy, basically, because talk therapy, you're basically just talking to yourself. The therapist is just saying yes, 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 what do you think, how do you feel? And so you're figuring it out yourself, but they know the questions to ask. And so there are many journal prompts that you can look up. You can actually buy my journal, which is a moon journal. It has journal prompts in there. It also has activities like release rituals that you can do. It's meant for these activities to be done during full moons and new moons, but you can do it during any time that you want. And so you can get that, or you can get any journal, and you can just begin to write. Begin to write anything that comes to mind, whatever you're feeling. Or you can write a letter to your younger self if you're healing your younger self, for example, right? Your child self. You can write a letter to whoever and burn it. That's also a release ritual in its own. And these are all things that you can do that will really help release the energy. You can also do yoga. You can do breath work. There's physical things that you can do like tapping. Tapping is very, very good. If you haven't heard of it, it's called EFT tapping. It's just tapping on certain meridian points in the body and reprogramming the mind that's connected to those electrical signals in our body. And so it's just reprogramming. That is all. We all have a shadow, and it's really important that when we do our shadow work that we integrate the shadow. We heal the shadow by first looking at it and seeing what it is, right? This is what it is. This is the experience I had, and you accept it as an experience being here as a human being, whatever it is, or however fucked up it was. There's something that it taught you. It's something that it built in you. You know, you would not be who you are right now if you had not been through those things, because you are a collection of everything and everything that you've experienced, especially, you know, if you're present with your now. You definitely are a collection. That's what your karma is. It's just a collection of memories, right? Collection of experiences, collection of things. And the only way that those experiences can hurt us is we keep holding on to those things and we stay in that timeline instead of moving on to a new version of ourselves and experience a whole new different life. And so it is important that we first identify it, right? See what it is. As soon as you identify it, you start staring at it, it starts changing on its own already. Okay? Integrating it into yourself, sending it love, saying, you know what? I know that it was a fucked up thing. Maybe I don't know why it happened, or maybe I do know the reason why it happened, because sometimes you look back and you're like, damn, that's why that happened. You know, like, I needed to become this kind of person, because if I wouldn't have become this kind of person, then I wouldn't have gotten to where I am, or I wouldn't have met this person, or whatever, you know what I mean? So sometimes we know, sometimes we don't even know why it happened. Sometimes we just cannot fathom why. And sometimes the universe will not tell you why. Sometimes there are things that are meant to be a mystery. The universe is mysterious, you know, and that's just how it is. Some things are not meant to be understood. Some things cannot be understood with the mind, with the human mind. Some things can only be felt and experienced. Some things can't even be felt and experienced. I mean, I don't know. There's so many infinite possibilities out there. But in any case, back to topic. So you identify it, you love it, you say, I know that you're part of me and I love me. And so since you're part of me, then I'm going to love you as well, even though you're like a part of me that was painful and was an experience, and you detach yourself from the experience. So the experience isn't you, it's not your identity, it's not who you are, it's an experience that you had. But that experience is part of the memories that built who you are, but it isn't you. Okay, so you separate yourself from the thing, and that's how you are able to give it love. Because if you're still attached to it, you're still feeling the hurt and the tug, and you're not going to be able to give it love. And so that's how you're able to give it love, right? You give it love and you say, you're part of me and whatever. And then you use that to empower yourself. That then begins to drive you and begins to light a little fire inside of you. Instead of being a dark shadow, it begins to start to become a light. Okay? And that's why a lot of speakers that you'll see that are, you know, famous and stuff, they'll go on and they'll have life experience to talk about experiences that were very tragic, you know, and then they built their whole career off of that, you know. I'm not saying everybody's going to do that, but you see that happen, and that's a great example of somebody really embracing a shadow and letting that propel them to their greatest and highest good, right? Any case, so that is the best way I can say to transmute and to embody and to integrate it into yourself. I'm still learning how to integrate myself with my shadow self, because there are things from my past, from when I used to drink a lot and I used to sleep around a lot, that I am not proud of, and I don't know how to integrate that into my new self, even though I'm kind of not ashamed anymore. You know, I used to be ashamed of it and now I'm not, you know, but I don't know how to integrate that with being sovereign and having, you know, I don't know if this is TMI, but having been celibate for a long time, I am finding my way of integration with that part of myself. And so I'm still learning. We all are learning, but this is just things that I know that have helped me, and I wanted to share with you guys. If you want to know more, most of the stuff that I covered is probably on that video on YouTube, but there might be some gems in there. I'm not sure. But go ahead and click that video if you're interested. And I just want to say that if anyone is doing shadow work, keep doing it. It's worth it. And I know that it's tough and we don't want to do it sometimes, but it's necessary. You know, Spirit is calling, and you have a mission here. And you can be in that, you can't even begin to even know that mission if you are stuck in your pain, and you can't really live and experience all of the joy of life if you don't let go of those things. And if you need support, go ahead and reach out to me on my messages, on my DMs. I got you. I can give you some advice. If you need a reading, You can book a reading with me. Right now, I'm only doing text readings, but I send you a video of the cards and I talk, in the video about everything that's going on. So that is fun. Also, if you want Reiki, you can go ahead and get Reiki from me as well. Just go to my website, www.lunaasheshop.com. And I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Like always, mucho, mucho love and light. Love you.